So in the last class we were looking into the SSL protocols, and we looked into the first three protocols, that is the SSL record protocol, SSL cipherspec protocol and SSL alert protocol. The fourth type is the SSL handshake protocol. So we have also used this handshake protocol. A mention of this was done when we looked into the previous protocols. So as we have understood earlier, basically this handshake protocol is used to establish the various sessions, and this is considered to be one of the most complex part of SSL. Mainly, this handshake protocol will allow the server and the client to authenticate each other, negotiate an encryption and MAC algorithm, and thirdly, the cryptographic keys are to be used in order to protect the data that is sent in the SSL record. So the handshake protocol is used before any application data is transmitted, and it consists of a series of messages that are being exchanged by the client and the server. So if you can see the format that is shown here, the format has three fields. So first field is called as the type, which is of 1 byte, which will indicate one of the 10 messages. We will look at the list of the messages later, but you should know that there are a total of 10 messages that will be exchanged between the client and the server. So this field is of 1 byte. The second field is length, which is of 3 bytes. So this is mainly used to indicate the length of the message in bytes. The third one is the content, which can be equal to 0 bytes or it can be greater than 0 bytes. And this content field is being used to mention the parameters that are associated with the messages, with those 10 messages that we will look into. So here is a list of the 10 messages that are going to be communicated between the client and the server. So you have the hello request, client hello, server hello, certificate, server key exchange, certificate request, server done, certificate verify, client key exchange, and finished. So these 10 messages will be used, and these are the parameters that are associated with each of the messages that are mentioned here. So the length of the message will be stored in the second field, whereas the parameters that are associated with it will be stored in the content, that is the third field. So let us look into the initial exchange needed in order to establish a logical connection between the client and the server. And this exchange between the client and the server can be observed as an exchange that occurs in 4 phases. So you can see we have categorized these messages into 4 phases. This will be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 and phase 4. So in simple words, if I have to tell you what happens in each phase, in the first phase, the client will send a hello message to the server. Okay. Then the server will respond saying hello. In the phase 2, the server will exchange certificates and will request for client certificates. So it is the server who will request the client for the client certificates, and it will exchange its certificates to the client. In the third phase, the client will send its certificates to the server, whereas in the fourth phase, here we will be generating the hash value, that is the client will authenticate the server and the server will authenticate the client, and then the entire handshake protocol, that is the complete authentication by the client and the server, will be completed. Now this is a simple explanation, but there is much more to this when we get into detail. So let us look into each of these things, that is each of these phases in much detail. So as I mentioned earlier, I just briefly told you what we are going to do in each phase. So if I have to talk in terms of technical terms, then in the phase 1 we will be establishing security capabilities. In the phase 2, server will perform authentication and key exchange. In the phase 3, the client authentication and key exchange will occur. And in the phase 4, it will be the finalizing the handshake protocol. We have to look into each of these phases in much detail. So the first phase, that is the phase 1, as we have looked earlier, this is meant for establishing the security capabilities. So if you look at the phase 1, I have just mentioned you the client here and the server, and this client hello message in itself contains various parameters, that is version ID, client random number, session ID, cipher suit, compression methods. So when a client hello is being sent to the server, all these parameters are included. Similarly, in the phase 1, when the server sends the server hello message, similar parameters are to be identified and sent to the client. So let us look into each of these parameters. The phase 1 will be used in order to initiate a logical connection to establish the security capabilities that are associated with it. So the exchange is initiated by the client, which sends a client hello message with the first parameter to be the version. So this version corresponds to the highest SSL version. As an example, I mentioned in the previous class, SSL version, if you are going to use the version 3, the value will be equal to 3. So here the version corresponds to the highest SSL version. Second, we have the random number that will be generating. So this is the client generated random structure, which will consist of 32-bit timestamp and 28 bytes generated by the secure random number generator. And these values serve as nonces. Nonces meaning it's in cryptography, it's an arbitrary number that can be used just once in communication. So these arbitrary numbers are used during the key exchange to prevent any replay attacks. Okay, so this random structure will consist of 32-bit timestamp. Then we have the session ID. So here a variable length session identifier is generated. So a non-zero value will indicate that the client wishes to update the parameters of an existing connection or create a new connection on the session. A 0 value will indicate that the client wishes to establish a new connection to a new session. So there could be two cases in the session ID. Either a non-zero value can be generated or a 0 value can be generated. Non-zero means client wishes to update the parameters of the existing connection or create a new connection on the session, whereas a 0 value will indicate that the client wishes to establish a new connection on a new session. The next parameter is cipher suit. So this will contain the list of combinations of the cryptographic algorithms that are supported by the client in the decreasing order of preference. So each element of the list will define both a key exchange algorithm and a cipher spec. The last parameter is the compression method. So this is the list of the compression methods that the client will support. So once these parameters are sent, that is after sending the client hello message, the client will wait for the server hello message, which contains the same parameters. If you remember, I showed you in the diagram, it contains the same parameters as the client hello message. So let us look into the parameters of the server hello message. So again here we have the version. So this version field will contain the lower versions suggested by the client and the higher versions supported by the server. Whereas in the previous case we had only the highest versions, but here we have both the lower version supported by the client and the highest version supported by the server. Second one is the random field. So this is generated by the server and is independent of the client's random field. So these two things are different for both of them. The third one is the session ID. So in this case, if the session ID field of the client was non-zero, the same value is used by the server. Otherwise, the server session ID field will contain the value for a new session. Next one is the cipher suit. So this cipher suit field contains the single cipher suit selected by the server from those proposed by the client. So it will select one of them that was proposed by the client. The compression field contains a compression method selected by the server from those proposed by the client. So if you can see, basically the server is responding with the hello by selecting certain parameters from the client. Now, if you look at the first element of the cipher suit parameter, this cipher suit parameter basically contains the various combinations of the cryptographic algorithms. Now, when we talk about the cryptographic algorithm, the cipher suit parameter, the first element will be the key exchange method that is being used. That is the means by which the cryptographic keys for conventional encryption and MAC will be exchanged. So there are various methods to this. Now it could be the key exchange algorithm could be the null RSA, that is Rivest-Shamir-Adleman algorithm, or it could be the anonymous Diffie-Hellman algorithm, or it could be the ephemeral Diffie-Hellman algorithm, or the fixed Diffie-Hellman algorithm, or Forteza. Mainly we do not focus on the null algorithm because in the null algorithm there is no key exchange and no pre-master secret is established between the client and the server. So we mainly focus on the remaining ones, that is the RSA, then the anonymous, the ephemeral, the fixed, and the Forteza. So let us look into each of this. So first we have the RSA key exchange. So here this is RSA key exchange stands for Rivest-Shamir-Adleman algorithm. So here this is basically a public key crypto system which is used widely for secure data transmission. So in this case the secret key is encrypted with the receiver's RSA public key, and a public key certificate for the receiver's key must be made available in this case. So secret key is encrypted with the receiver's RSA public key. The next category that we have is the fixed Diffie-Hellman algorithm. So this is a Diffie-Hellman key exchange in which the server certificate contains the Diffie-Hellman's public parameters which is signed by the certificate authority. That is, the public key certificate will contain the Diffie-Hellman public key parameters. Other than that, the client has to provide its Diffie-Hellman public key parameters either in a certificate if client authentication is required or in a key exchange message. Usually this method will result in a fixed secret key between the two peers based on the Diffie-Hellman calculation which is used, which is done using the fixed public keys. The next one is the ephemeral Diffie-Hellman. So here this technique is used to create an ephemeral, meaning temporary or a one-time secret key. So in this case the Diffie-Hellman public keys are exchanged, signed using the sender's private RSA or a DSS key. That is why if you can see this it's mentioned RSA or DSS. So here it is the Diffie-Hellman public keys are exchanged, signed using sender's private RSA or a DSS key. The receiver can use the corresponding public key to verify the signature, and certificates are used to authenticate the public keys. So this would appear to be one of the most secure of the three different Diffie-Hellman options that we'll be looking into, because in this case the results are temporary authenticated keys. The next one that we have is the anonymous Diffie-Hellman key exchange. So the base Diffie-Hellman algorithm is used in this case with no authentication. So that is, each side will send its public key Diffie-Hellman parameters to the other side without any authentication, and this approach is more vulnerable to man-in-the-middle attacks, in which the attacker will conduct an anonymous Diffie-Hellman in both parties. So this is very much vulnerable to attacks, so not very much preferred. The next set that we had was Fortezza. So this technique is defined for only the Fortezza scheme, so not much in detail is required for you to know. Now, following the key exchange method is the cipherspec. If you can remember that I specified that we have key exchange and cipherspec. So after we perform the key exchange, we have cipherspec, which will include the various fields that are specified here. So the first one is the cipher algorithm. So any of the algorithms can be used. Some of the algorithms are specified here: RC4, RC2, DES, 3DES or Fortezza. Then we have the MAC algorithm, MD5 or SHA1. Cipher type, stream or block, is exportable. It can be either true or false. Hash size 0, 16 for MD5 algorithm, or if it is 20, it would be for the SHA algorithm, SHA1 algorithm, hash algorithm. Key material basically stands for a sequence of bytes that contain the data used in generating the right keys. IV size basically stands for the size of the initialization value for the cipher block chaining encryption. So this is the initialization value that we are looking into. So once key exchange is done, we have to define the parameters for the cipherspec, and all these parameters are included in the cipherspec. So here completes the phase 1 of the handshake protocol. Client will send the client hello message, server will reply with the server hello message. The various parameters that are present for the client hello and the server hello is one and the same. Basically, server will pick some of the algorithms that are being used or supported by the client. So the next phase is the second phase. So here server authentication and key exchange occurs. So what the server will basically do is, it will begin this phase by sending its certificates if it needs to be authenticated, and the message will contain one or a chain of various 509 certificates. So the certificate message is required for any agreed upon key exchange method except for the anonymous Diffie-Hellman algorithm. So here, as you can see, it is mentioned that the server will send a chain of certificates, then it will specify the server public key, it will send a list of acceptable certificates, list of acceptable authorities, and then finally the server hello done message. So in this case no contents are being sent, but it just concludes saying that server hello is completed or the authentication process is completed. So let us look into the server authentication and key exchange in much detail. So the first part that we have, as I mentioned, is the server key exchange message, which may be sent if it is required. If not required, then we have to or if it is not required, then such a case can occur only in two instances. That is when the server has sent a certificate with the fixed Diffie-Hellman parameters, or an RSA key exchange is to be used. So otherwise, this server key exchange message may not be required. So we have the server key exchange message, which will be needed again for the 4 cases. If we go for RSA, anonymous Diffie-Hellman, ephemeral Diffie-Hellman, or fixed Diffie-Hellman. So RSA key exchange, in this the server will be using the RSA but has a signature only RSA key. So in this case, the client cannot simply send a secret key which is encrypted with the server's public key. So instead, the server, what it will do is, it must create a temporary RSA public or the private key pair and use the server's key exchange message to send the public key. The message content will include 2 parameters of the temporary RSA public key plus a signature of those parameters. Then we have the anonymous Diffie-Hellman. So the message content consists of 2 global Diffie-Hellman values, a prime number and a primitive root of that number, plus the server's public Diffie-Hellman key. In the case of ephemeral Diffie-Hellman, the message content will include 3 Diffie-Hellman parameters provided for anonymous Diffie-Hellman, that are these parameters, plus a signature of those parameters. Then we have the fixed Diffie-Hellman. So here it is usually the same as that of the fixed Diffie-Hellman that we saw earlier. So we are going to, the server is going to send the Diffie-Hellman certificates directly to the client, and no server key exchange is possible in this case. So these are the 4 phases of key exchange when you consider the different algorithms for key exchange. Now, as I mentioned, if server key exchange is required, then we will have to follow all the various parameters or various algorithms, that is RSA, fixed Diffie-Hellman, ephemeral, or anonymous Diffie-Hellman. If it is not required, that can occur only in 2 instances, as I mentioned, that the server has sent a certificate with the fixed Diffie-Hellman parameters, or a RSA key exchange is used. Now, in the case of the generation where a signature has to be created by taking the hash of a message, then we'll have to use the following code. So in this case, the hash will be defined as hash client hello.random, server hello.random, server parameters. So these basically this thing corresponds to the concatenation of the various messages that you are going to send. So the hash basically covers not only the Diffie-Hellman or the RSA parameters, but also the arbitrary numbers from the initial hello message. That is why you can see we make use of .random. So this will ensure that there is a safety against any replay attacks and any misinterpretation between the client and the server. Now, other than the server key exchange, we also have the certificate request message, which consists of 2 parameters, that is the certificate underscore type and certificate underscore authorities. So this second parameter, that is the certificate underscore authorities, will consist of a list of the distinguished names of the acceptable certificate authorities. Then the final message in the phase 2, and the one that is actually very very important and required, is the server done message. So this is used when the server has finished sending all the certificates that are required, and the server will have to indicate the end of the server hello and the associated messages. After sending this message, the server will wait for the client's response, and this message does not have any parameters. So if you look at the initial diagram, that is this one, a chain of certificates will be sent by the server to the client. The server public key is shared, especially when you go for the server key exchanges. Then the certificate request message is sent, which consists of the two parameters, the type of the certificate and the certificate authorities. And finally the server hello message will be sent, which does not contain any message or any content. It's just a indication to tell the client that he has completed the server hello. So next we have the third phase, wherein we are going to look into the client authentication and key exchange. So here you can see the phase 2 completed with the server sending all the message requests. So the phase 3 begins with the client sending a chain of certificates to the server. The client will send the public key, and it will also provide the certificate verify, that is the hash code to prove the certificates. So once the server done message is received, the client should verify that the server provided a valid certificate and check the server hello parameters whether they are acceptable or no. If all are satisfactory, then the client will send one or more messages back to the server. If in case the server requested a message, the client will begin this phase by sending the certificate message. If no suitable certificate is available, the client will send a no certificate alert. Next, what happens is that a client key exchange message will be sent. You can see here, it will be sent to the server. Again, the content of the client key exchange message will depend on the type of the key exchange that we are going to use. And in this case also, as mentioned earlier, we have looked into the various key exchange messages, right? So RSA, then we have the anonymous Diffie-Hellman, fixed Diffie-Hellman, then we have the ephemeral Diffie-Hellman and Forteza. So any of these algorithms can be followed here as well. If we go for the RSA, the client will generate a 48 byte pre-master secret, and it will encrypt with the public key from the server certificate or a temporary RSA key from a server key exchange message, and it will use it to compute a master secret which will be sent to the server. If it is anonymous Diffie-Hellman or ephemeral Diffie-Hellman, then the client's public Diffie-Hellman parameters will be sent. If it is fixed Diffie-Hellman, the client's public Diffie-Hellman parameters will be sent in the certificate message. So the content of this message usually will be null. Finally, in this phase, the client may send a certificate verify message in order to provide explicit verification of a client certificate. So this message will only be sent following any client certificate that has a signing capability, that is all certificates except those containing fixed Diffie-Hellman parameters. So this message will basically begin with the hash code based on the preceding messages. So you can see here certificate verify.signature.md5 underscore hash, which will be equal to md5 master secret pad2 md5 handshake message master secret pad1 certificate verify.signature.sha underscore hash. This will be equal to sha master secret pad2 sha handshake messages master secret pad1. So if you look at these two codes, hash codes, these hash codes are almost similar, except that one uses md5, the other one uses sha algorithm. And as we know, these pad1 and pad2 are the values which are defined for the MAC. The handshake message which is sent or received starting at client hello, and the secret, master secret, which is calculated secret. Okay, so this is the calculated secret. Master secret is the calculated secret. So if the user's private key is DSS, then it is used to encrypt the SHA hash. If the user's private key is RSA, it is used to encrypt the concatenation for MD5 and SHA. So with this message, that is the certificate verify.signature, we will be completing the phase 3 of the handshake protocol. So you can see again, just to recall what we saw in this phase, we are going to send a chain of certificates between the client and the server. Then we are going to perform the key exchange between the client to the server, and the key exchange algorithms could be the ones which mentioned earlier. And finally we are going to send a certificate verify message, that is a hash code will be used, which is shown here. MD5 or an SHA1 algorithm can be used. So here we are going to send the master secret, the handshake messages, same thing in the case of SHA1. Finally, the phase 4 of the handshake protocol that we have. So here this phase will complete the setting up of the secure connection between the client and the server. So the client will send a change cipher spec, and it will copy the pending cipher spec into the current cipher spec. So this is not basically considered as a part of the handshake protocol, but is sent using the change cipher spec protocol. So the client will then immediately send the finished message under new algorithms, keys and secrets, and the finished message will be this finished message basically will verify that the key exchange and the authentication processes were successful. So if you look at the phase 4, so content of this particular finished message is the concatenation of two hash values, that is MD5 and SHA. So you have MD5 with master secret, MD5 handshake messages, sender, master secret and pad1, SHA master secret pad2, SHA handshake messages, sender, master secret pad1. So basically this is a concatenation of the two hash values, MD5 and SHA. Sender basically in this particular code is the one that identifies the sender, which is the client, and the handshake message is all of the data, okay, all of the data from all the handshake messages that are seen in the entire phases. Okay, so handshake underscore messages, meaning it corresponds to all of the data from all the handshake messages, all the 10 messages. So in response to these messages, the server will send its own change cipher spec message. It will transfer the pending to the current cipher spec and then sends a finished message. So at this particular point, the handshake is complete, and the client and the server can now begin to exchange any application layer data.